Welcome back to the Hall of Fame College Football Podcast. I'm your host, Jason Watkins. And if you love college football, you know you're in the right place. So before you forget, smash that red subscriber button, like our videos, and don't forget to ring the bell so you don't miss one moment of the Hall of Fame College Football Podcast. Welcome back to the show, everybody. Experimenting with a little bit of, we're going to start running some early shows throughout the week, particularly on Fridays. See if we can get a few more folks into the live streams. And I didn't get to really go on with much yesterday. I was busy with some other stuff. So decided to jump in here and talk a little bit about some things that have popped up over the last few days. First and foremost being obviously you had, let's see, where were we at? Dang it, man. Well, the Pac-12 latest. Obviously, there's been a lot of rumors out there concerning whether or not the conference's media deal is going to hold up to what appears to. I mean, you got to figure that this conference is either about to be dead or is dead. And the rumor right now is that Colorado, who apparently had a board meeting about this and was supposed to be met with Brett Yormark for over 5 hours in the last week or so, maybe jumping ship before it even finds out about its newest media deal. We're going to get into that just a little bit. Obviously, there was some news on the recruiting front for Oklahoma as Payton Pierce made a commitment to the Ohio State Buckeyes. I'm going to kind of let you know what I feel about that and, where I feel like that should go and where Oklahoma should really go with it rather than, my feeling is on it that I feel like they ought to go after one other guy that isn't a linebacker more than they should concern themselves with losing him. It could bring them back if they do the right thing. If you would like to support the show, as you see here, you can leave us tips right through the super chat option or through Venmo and Cash App. Definitely need to have some of that going forward if we're going to be doing this a lot more. So let me know. I'll drop that in there for you in just 1 second there, Cody. Also, podcast merchandise. We've got some new merch in there. Check out our seatbelt stuff that we've got in the merch store. Kind of cool stuff. Let us know what you think about it. I'm guessing everybody's going to kind of like it, but hey, maybe you won't. Let me know. We can maybe make some changes to it if necessary, but I think it looks pretty cool myself. I know I'm going to be getting one coming in pretty soon as well. So let's go ahead and get into Payton Pierce. Thanks, man. I appreciate you guys getting in there and doing all that. In the end, look, I think when you start thinking about Florida just a bit, right? You want them, I think as Hank said, you want them to be more consistent than what you saw. They do have a brand new quarterback. Again, they were missing some of that line. And if you have that kind of big boys, and I mean, you're getting that kind of press into the backfield, there's a problem on that offensive line. There's an issue there. But I would say with as bad as they were defensively, I can see where if you're Cody, you're going to want to take that as a positive, for your Florida team. And again, man, there's time before this, the fall season gets started. We'll kind of see how all that goes and everything like that. But I'm going to go ahead and bring my boy Rich in, Chris Richardson. He's going to be joining us here on a couple of shows coming up pretty soon. But I just wanted to kind of hit with him about this whole Payton Pierce thing to Ohio State, and we'll kind of get into that a little bit. Chris, welcome to the show, my dude.
What up?
What's up, man? How you been?
Oh, just driving through enemy territory.
Yeah, getting down there close to Austin.
No, not yet. I'm almost to TCU first. We'll swing by there. Then I'm pretty sure we'll swing right by Baylor, and I'll probably flip them the bird. Then we'll be in Austin, and then we will cut back east towards College Station. So looking forward to hitting all
just
the
gonna
spots.
see it all today, huh? We're on a tour of crap campuses, it sounds like, huh?
Yeah, as I got closer to TCU, it started getting cloudy, and I really feel like that's a pretty good representation of how I feel towards those programs. So it's fitting.
Yes, yes, understood. Yeah, I get it. I get it. Uh, no, you've probably been listening in. We were just kind of dragging on Florida a little bit after their showing last night. I don't know if you watched any of that Orange and Blue game. Man, it was funny. One of my favorite creators is the Uncle Lou show. I love that show. He's fucking hilarious. But he said Florida might have set football back 100 years. So that's how he felt about it.
Yeah,
But
well, I just wanted to, before we get too far off of the Florida subject, he asked if we would be excited with the 56-7 showing. And, it's like we were discussing earlier. I think people forget Oklahoma's offense was absolutely not the problem last season. With them
absolutely
to be
not the
ranked
problem.
inside the top 15 in total offense in the country, uh, you
Hmm.
know, what do you expect when you have 122nd ranked defense? And I feel like it's kind of a sacrificial year. I mean, you
Sure.
lose and have the turnover and turmoil that you do within the program. I mean, you're gonna kind of want to sacrifice it. This is a not just a new scheme, but it's also known for being one of the most complex schemes in all of college football. So, with that being
Absolutely.
said, I mean, I think it's great for those young kids to have sat back for a year. Not knocking the guys that were playing, but I feel like some of our starters were not the most talented at the position, or by far the
Right.
most athletic. We see that through some of these pro day and combine numbers, and like I said, I think it'll be beneficial long term, and it'll pay dividends for these kids to have sat a year back. The game's going to slow down a lot for them. They're watching
Right.
a lot of tape. Some of these other guys coming in, they were talking about Reggie Pearson, for example. They said that guy is a film watching guru, and
Right.
he
Yeah, man.
encourages all these other safeties to join in. What's that?
Dude, and on top of that, Pearson is a freaking animal, man. I mean, look at the hits that he was laying down throughout the entire season last year for Tech. I mean, that's something that we didn't see a ton of uh,
Well,
in Norman.
one
So
thing
that
is
was I was excited. Go ahead.
we didn't lack depth at safety by any means. So there's a reason that
No,
Brent
definitely
Venables
not.
and company wanted to bring him in. So they're not going to bring a
Yeah.
guy in just because it looks good on paper. They're bringing a guy in that they think can contribute, especially as much time and experience as he's got. They expect him to be,
Right.
he's going to have a part, and I think he's going to take advantage of it. It sounds like one thing
Oh
that we
yeah.
didn't get to see a whole lot of last year, and we were accustomed to with Brent Venables, is physicality. And with Reggie Pearson coming in, and the stories about
Mhm.
Kobe McKenzie throughout spring practice just walloping guys, then you've got
Yep.
Josiah Wagner getting referred to by Brent Venables as a pit bull. I mean,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
I think we're
And
trending in,
Josiah,
in the
Josiah's not the biggest cat in the world, and he's out there laying wood to dudes, man. And that's
I'm gonna
something that
tell
I
you
saw
right
in the
now.
All
I don't.
American
My
game.
my grandmother had a
Go.
Chihuahua, and I don't know if you've ever been bit by a Chihuahua, but gosh damn, that it hurts. So for him to not be a big guy, it's just what it is.
Yeah, yeah. I'm gonna tell you, it hurts worse to get bit by a pit bull, which is what they're calling Josiah. So that's good. Look, I'm excited about all this too. Let's talk a little bit about this. Go ahead, Peyton Pierce deal. Now, obviously, I think a lot of people were expecting that he was going to be an OU guy. So far, and let's preface this by saying we've got a long ways till December and National Signing Day. So, but at the moment, he is committed to Ohio State. The thing that I saw was that I really, really didn't like was the fact that Nigel Smith made a comment about that commitment, and they were, kind of going back and forth about maybe him joining as well. That being said, where do you feel like this kind of lands on the importance scale when it comes to Pierce himself? I'm under the impression and of the belief that right now depth at the linebacker position isn't a real issue either. So but I'll toss it to you. What are you
Well,
thinking on that?
earlier I lose you.
Oh, no, I can
I'm
hear
back.
you. Yep, there you go. There you go. You're back.
Okay. All right. Linebacker is actually probably what I feel like is one of their deeper positions. When I
It is.
look at reports and hear what people are saying, we got
Yep.
right now, from the sounds of it, like we were saying earlier, we got guys like Jaron Kanek and Kobe McKenzie, and then you've got Kit. they're sitting here battling each other for a position, and the good thing about having that
just to
depth
get
and
some
having
playing
dogs
time.
at that position. Well, just for the playing time, but I
Mm-hmm.
mean, them boys are pushing one another. That is a big deal, and that's only going to make them better.
Absolutely.
And like we discussed earlier, with Ethan Downs, we all love the kid, and he's been third. He stuck with us. He shows up every week. He's a go-getter, and he's gonna,
Yeah.
his job. You got Bothward coming in, and everybody's talking about how he is by far our best pass rusher. Um, all that's gonna do is make
Mm-hmm.
Ethan Downs have to elevate his game, and that's not going to hurt anybody or anything. That is a good problem to have. But linebacker, I feel like is even better because all those guys, with the exception of the guy, I don't even think Sammy Amasigo's not on campus. Uh, there's quite a few guys that aren't on campus, but most of our depth is coming from those younger guys with Kanik, McKenzie, with Lewis. Uh,
Sure.
it's
Well, and having looked at and having seen Sammy down there at the All American game too, he's gonna make a move at that too. I think during fall camp. I mean, he's too he's definitely too polished and just stud athlete to not garner some looks to where he's probably going to get some playing time. I think as well too. And we talked about that. I mean, and it should be that way. If you're bringing in a bunch of guys and you ranked in the 120s in total defense last season, you probably should be getting some looks from some of these young guys to be able to get some playing time.
100%.
It's great. Some of these guys that are coming in, as far as when you start thinking about the transfer portal, and yes, from Bothroyd, I keep hearing the same thing about him. That dude is an absolute dog. You could see that when he was at Wake Forest. He is a game record type of guy. So I'm excited about that. You keep hearing great things about Deshaun McCullough. You keep hearing really good things about obviously Makari Vickers, Josiah Wagner in the secondary, but this linebacker core, I think if losing Pearson, and it's not something that you want to see, obviously you'd like to get them all. But one of the things that I wanted to bring up to make sure is you're not going to see Oklahoma get every player. It's just not going to happen.
Right.
And some of these guys might be, particularly at the linebacker position, you can start looking at. You think that they don't realize that there's depth there? If you're a guy like Payton Pearson, you're seeing the guys that are there, the guys that will be there in the fall, and that you're going to be coming in there behind them. Look, Ohio State's defense was trash,
Well,
last
you
year,
asked my
and it has been.
just to kind of corral it back to what you had asked about my views on missing out on Pierce and how that's looking. Just like I said earlier, so he wasn't necessarily ranked the highest, but he's a kid that of course we wanted. He had some good physical
Sure.
attributes. He seems like a smart kid. I'm sure he'd be able to come in and he could mold himself a pretty good spot on the team and contribute at an early stage in his career, I think. But with that being said,
Maybe.
like you said, it's still early, and we're not completely out. I don't think the coaches are just going to stop recruiting the kid because he committed to
I
Ohio
don't
State.
either. Right.
And
Right. And I don't believe, I agree with you on that. But what I was getting at is that when you have the depth that we're starting to see starting to build up there, and if you've already got you were talking about, what's going to happen between Kanik and Kobe. I mean, Kobe's already kind of building out, or he looks like he's already working himself into that thought process of being able to get a lot of playing time at that position. And I know a lot of people were hoping that Jaron Kanik is going to be in there a lot more this season. But to me, again, and this is something that I said to you off air, but hey, I think every position is open. When you start looking at what they did last year, you can't. Every position on that defense is open, right?
100%. And that's something as
So
fans that we need to welcome and encourage. Like I said, the Kanik story and him kind of going the whole Baker Mayfield route and just showing up because he wanted to play for Venables. Just because he might not
right,
necessarily end up winning that starting spot at that position, the Mike Backer, that doesn't mean
yeah.
that he's not going to get playing time. Because another good problem to have with that depth, you can rest these guys. You can sit them for a series and let them kind
Oh
of
man, no doubt.
get their feet back under them and then toss them back in there, or even if it's a quarter and then just give it a different look. And
Hmm.
that's going to confuse offenses too. So again, all these guys are I think they're great athletes. I trust Brent Venables and what he wants in his defense, what he looks for. And like you're saying, you asked about the depth, and we do have a ton of depth, and not only do we have a lot of depth, we have youth on our side. All these
Youth.
kids.
That was the other part of it.
I mean, we're talking what? They're going to be sophomores, redshirt freshmen.
That's right.
Redshirt freshmen coming in. I mean, there's 6 or 7. Well, you even look at Deshaun McCullough. He'll be a true sophomore. And yes, they're wanting to play him at Cheetah, but he was a linebacker. He's a freshman All-American at the linebacker position. So that's another guy I think that he's going to be pushed.
Hey, listen.
Again, he chose Oklahoma for a reason, and Oklahoma wanted him for a reason. So Witter.
Absolutely. Oh, looks like we lost him. He was on a rhythm there too. That's cool. We're going to get him back in here before too long anyway. So we'll continue on. But as I was saying, and this is what I was kind of talking about more than anything else, is that when you start looking at kind of what's happening here, you can kind of understand why a guy like this might choose Ohio State, right? Because when you start thinking about it, they weren't very good on defense. And they're trying to rework the whole thing. And if you look at what's going on, and don't think for 1 second that Pierce didn't look across there and see, okay, well, yeah, if we all know that the linebackers are one of those deep groups that you expect to do very well, maybe you don't come in and get a lot of playing time right away. Maybe you don't. So that's something you got to kind of take a look at as well. And so he might have a better opportunity to play right away at Ohio State. Then again, and it's still not out. Just like Chris was just saying, you're not definitely out on this guy anyway. With the way things are and the way that this staff recruits, flipping him is not even out of the picture. My concern would be this: seeing the tweet that Nigel Smith made talking about them being a possible big time tandem together, playing there at Ohio State. That would be my concern. And if I'm Oklahoma, I'm not as worried. First off, you still have what appears to be, and let's just make sure that we say that it appears to be the inside track on Sammy Brown, right? Now, whether or not that happens, it still remains to be seen. But if you're going to go through and get that guy, then great. You know what I mean? That's awesome. My question would be, and definitely you want to make sure that you continue to make that big push towards getting him. My bigger, more important thing, in my opinion, would be go get Nigel Smith. Don't let a lot of this talk get out of hand there. Make sure that he knows that you want him. Right now, to me, it looks like that defensive line, there's a possibility that you could get 3 5-star defensive tackles, which is what Oklahoma really needed coming into this cycle as it is. I know you've got some transfer help that was greatly needed as well, so that you have time to kind of, continue to recruit that position and also develop some talent there. But my thought is I want Nigel Smith. Za'Davian Sims, I want to see him come in too as well, Weston. But what I would tell you is I really want to see these guys get Nigel Smith. I think he might be the best athlete out of everybody they're looking at that position. And that's just my opinion on it. Maybe you guys, obviously you want to see David Stone. I think that it seems to me like Williams Nwaneri is already, seems to be a lock there. I hate to call anybody a lock, but everybody's got their crystal ball in for him, including Wilfong. So that's one of those things that I suspect is going to be, I still feel like he's going to be there. I also feel like Stoney that both of those guys have tried to commit to the Sooners more than once. They're going to continue taking their and they're not going to want them to if they're going to continue taking visits. So they've been, telling them don't make the commitment just yet unless you're done traveling. And you should go ahead and make those trips, When it comes to Stoney, I know a lot of people are like, oh, well, he keeps on saying stuff on. It seems to me like he likes to poke the bear a little bit, and he probably knows how Oklahoma Twitter folks are. So it seems like he's poking the bear a little bit there, and I think that's funny. I think that people on Twitter should relax a bit when it comes to that kind of stuff. It certainly doesn't help when you start tweeting bad crap at these kids as it is. So, but I think that may be part of it. The other part I would say is, yes, Nigel Smith is about 6'6". He's a really, really good basketball player. Man, this dude is, I think he's the guy. I really think that, I know that, and a lot of people are going to say Zadavion over him. And there's a possibility that you end up with him too. I think that there is. My guess is that they, at minimum, get 2 5-star defensive tackles here. And I would rather, myself, I want to see Nigel Smith be one of them. He spent an awful lot of time at Oklahoma. I think it's a possibility that he's going to go there anyway. And, listen, they're going to think out loud a little bit. They're kids. They're going to think out loud on Twitter, and there's going to be a lot of talk back and forth. But that's my feeling on it. I'm not so much as worried about the linebacker position in Payton Pierce as I am saying, hey, get out there, get these defensive linemen, which is what everybody's been talking about for the whole season. That's the biggest area of need. And I feel like if you go and get those guys, you get a guy like Nigel, you get a guy, you bring in Nwaneri, you bring in Stoney. Oh, that's going to get real good real quick. And I feel like you can't. I mean, they've already done pretty well. I keep hearing that Champ Sanders is looking amazing in spring camp. So, hey, let's check it out and see. But my feeling is that I want to see them cut that crap talk about him joining Payton Pierce at Ohio State. Let's cut that one. I'm more interested in that than I'm worried about whether or not Payton Pierce signed with Ohio State over Oklahoma. And again, I'm not one of those people that thinks that we got to worry about every guy that doesn't commit to OU. I just don't. I think that when they don't, and with what they're talking about, they're not promising them bags of cash or any of that kind of crap. If they're not committing to OU, and then maybe they're not a fit. Maybe they're not. Maybe they are, maybe they're not. They're still making, I do believe that they're having, this is a relationship building process on the OU staff's part. And so even if you come in second right off the bat, or, where you're moving forward, doesn't mean that you don't get them back. Even if he goes to Ohio State, doesn't feel like he gets into their rhythm or doesn't get crack into their lineup right away and decides to transfer, that relationship could pay off later on. Right. I don't know. Anyway, just, let's see that position I'm wondering about. I know what he's talking about. Special teams lost a lot there. Yeah. You know what? We'll get into that here over the next week or so. I got to be honest with you, I hadn't dug into that a ton. I'll take a look at that. Hoping that I'm going to be out there for the spring game this next week. So we'll get into that, and we'll get to see a lot of that as well. I want to get my eyes on a lot of this stuff as it is. But there is some stuff going on. So we're, kind of looking at that, seeing whether I'm going to be able to do that or not. But let's see how that goes. But I definitely want to see how the special teams is doing as well. I was reminded by, a couple of the guys in the comment section over the Lincoln Riley videos that they didn't even practice it, but about 30 minutes a week. And there was no special teams coordinator or anything like that. I'd forgotten all about that, which is kind of a weird thing. And what a mess that was, my guess is that it's going to be improved upon because they don't really leave any stones unturned when it comes to that kind of stuff. And Venables and his staff. So I believe it's going to get better. Let's see. But again, tell me what you guys think about that. I mean, am I on the right track here that we need to be more worried about that defensive line position than we are about linebackers, especially in view of the fact that you've got a guy. I mean, as Chris was saying, when you look at Deshaun McCullough, he's a true sophomore, and he was a freshman All-American as a linebacker. I know a lot of people got him slotted in to be the cheetah, but I also feel like there's some other guys that can play that position as well. He's definitely going to be there. Kanak, big expectations there, though. And then you've got McKenzie. And then, obviously, with Danny Stutzman, he looked better and better the entire time the entire second half of the season, I think, in 2022. So you continue to expect big things out of them. I think you're building some depth there. I'm not as worried about that as I would be some of that other stuff. So, I'm pretty excited about that. Secondary is looking like it's getting a lot better, a lot quicker too. You have some experience coming back there as well. And then something that Chris didn't get to, but I know he was wanting to talk about, was the fact that Payton Bowen could very well be generational talent. I've heard people talking about him in the same breath as a guy like Roy Williams. Now, it's a little early to talk like that for me, but man, if you even approach Roy, whoa, we're talking about a college football Hall of Famer, so that's big. Okay, now. Hey, you guys all know the drill, right? Say it with me. Smash that red subscriber button. Like our videos. And don't forget to ring the notification bell so you don't miss one moment of the Hall of Fame College Football Podcast. Hey, we even have amazing pod merchandise right here in our store. Hey, while you're here, don't forget to check out all these other amazing channels and subscribe to them too.